No price talk and no Lambos. This is not another crypto podcast. Welcome to Ignition. I'm your host, Jillian, and each week we will be looking at the problems solved by blockchain. I'll be going deep with the people building the apps and communities which are changing the world around us.
Well, hello and welcome to the Ignition podcast from EOS Dublin with myself, Jillian Gotzel. I have a really great guest today. His name is Adam J. Carswell, and he's the host of the Liberland show. Oh my goodness, what a great title. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Good morning, Jill. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the warm introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, before we get to Liberland, which is, obviously of great interest to everybody in this space, and you and I in particular, I want to talk just a bit about you. You have a very interesting career, and you're a very interesting person all around. Your main career is in commercial real estate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You grew up in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And what type of things do you do with your day job then? How would you describe your...
Yeah, sure. So in regards to commercial real estate, I play an integral part in two private equity firms. We work with investors at both companies. One is Concordia Realty. We're based out of Chicago. And then ASIM Capital. We're based out of Los Angeles. And what I do at Concordia is very similar to the work that I do at ASIM, but definitely not identical. And if you had to summarize it quickly, I handle investor relations, media, marketing, and strategic positioning.
You don't live in the States now. Tell people where you live.
Yes, I live in the first city the sun rises on in North America every day, St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. And you're right. Where I live, for example, is actually significantly far away from most of the cities that we look at for deals or people that I do communicate with on a daily basis. I'm normally at least 1, 2, or sometimes even 3 time zones removed. But thanks to the beauty of the internet, and really thanks to the beauty of the culture here in Newfoundland, I found a nice, comfortable place for myself to set up shop, live, and continue to do the things that I enjoy that thankfully put food on the table, as some people would say, and have a fun life outside of just commercial real estate as well.
And how did you pick land on Newfoundland? I mean, that's like quite bizarre, isn't it? That's not your average place I'm going to move to. I'm going to move down the road to Newfoundland. How did you choose it?
It is very bizarre. And now that I've, day by day falling more in love with the people here and the culture, I've kind of made it my mission to put this province, it almost feels like its own country, to be honest, because I've been to other provinces in Canada before, and the way they do things here is just different. So it's a little bit of my mission to put this province on the map and make sure everyone knows where Newfoundland is. But I chose it because when I was studying in the years of 2013 and 2014, I was working on my master's in Belize, Central America, and made some really good friends while I was there who ultimately relocated to St. John's, Newfoundland. And when they first moved here, I was just like thinking to myself, wow, that is, not only is that random, but do people even live there? I was looking at it on a map, like funny enough, a month before I even knew that they were going to come here, just because I was bored one day looking at maps. And what do you know, they moved here, and I'm like, all right, I got to come visit you guys because this place just seems so off the grid. I don't know anyone that's been there. And to kind of clarify that too, there's a significant international presence here because they have a university in St. John's that has a very good reputation for just bringing in international students. But I can say that I've been here since May, and we're recording this in October. And I think I've probably only met, including myself, like 5 or 6 Americans since I moved here. So I kind of like the fact that even though I'm in an environment that feels very much like home, I'm still one of the only Americans. And anyone who knows me personally knows I don't even really like to label myself to any country just because I believe we're all citizens of the world. But it's definitely something that helps me stand out. And I think another reason why I do like living here.
And I think too, it's nice. I've traveled a bit in my time as well. When you live in a different country, it's nice to mix with other people and not just your own sort of natives. I mean, like when I travel, I rarely go to the Irish bars, put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're great crack, and I have been to some, obviously, but I don't seek out fellow Irish men and women when I travel. I like to meet people of the nation where I'm traveling to, where I'm living. So I kind of get that. Now, going back to the Irish thing there, you said at one stage, Newfoundland is a bit like Ireland. In what way?
Yeah. And I say that going based on, in regards to Ireland, what I've heard and what I've observed, because I've never been to Ireland, but I do know there's a very, very strong Irish lineage here, also kind of engraved into the culture. I know many people here who have Irish family. Their family's been here for 5 or 6 generations, and that's probably because if you look on a map where Ireland is to compared to where Newfoundland is, it's pretty much one of the first stops coming directly across the Atlantic into North America. So there's a lot of Irish descendants here, and the accent here actually sounds a little bit similar, Jill, I would say, to yours and a few other
Oh,
Irish professionals that I've met through working with Liberland. I've heard their accent compared to the accent that I hear here in Newfoundland. Now, that here they would call it a Bayman accent, like someone who grew up in the Bay and was a fisherman type of thing. Those are
okay.
it's kind of a part of the culture. So anyone with a Bayman accent is very slurred, quick talking, not traditional English to the point where you'd be like, wait, is that Irish? So, um, yeah, I've just found it very interesting. And there's a significant amount of Irish pubs here too, as you kind of
Wow.
was talking about going to Irish pubs. And there's actually one cool thing about one of those Irish pubs, and I guess we could probably talk about that in a second, but I want you to, sounds like you got some more questions here.
Yeah, oh, no, no, tell me the cool thing and then I'll move on.
Well, Trinity Pub here on George Street, which is downtown, I built a
Yeah.
relationship with the owner through some friends of mine, and as of about 2 to 3 Sundays ago, and this is probably an encouraging factor as to why I decided to stay here too. I just started DJing, really for the first time in my life
Oh,
at
wow.
Trinity Pub, and it's not Irish music, that's for sure. We're definitely bringing different flavors and genres and types of music from around the world to this place on Sundays. It's called Spicy Sunday, and we're really helping bring out the international crowd as well as the Newfoundlanders who have been dying to hear this type of music for their whole life.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations. It's great to start a new career.
Yeah, I don't even know how to call it. You know, it's funny because like now I'm like this commercial real estate guy that also DJs on Sunday nights. So um, it's a good life. It's a good life.
I have a friend who's a commercial realtor as well in Portugal, a Dutch guy who also DJs. There must be something connected.
Okay, cool. So I'm not the first.
No, it was
All right.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. You got to introduce us.
Yeah. So now, and you're also a minimalist.
I am. I am.
It's hard to. I am definitely not a minimalist. I'm a clutterist. I hoard stuff, like hate throwing stuff out. I'm terrible. So you gave away all your wardrobe when you moved to a Newfoundland.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Wow.
I even before I moved here, I thought that I didn't have a whole lot of things. And then when I started getting ready to move, I realized, wow, I still actually have a lot of stuff. So, and I want to say at the time when I moved here first, I probably had 3 pairs of shoes at the most, 4 pairs of pants, maybe 8 or 9 t-shirts, or just shirts in general. You referenced it before our phone call, but I donated all my suits before I moved too, and that was kind of a little bit of a mistake, especially as we just discussed being in commercial real estate. Probably shouldn't have done that because I did end up going to a few conferences over this past summer where I needed my suit and I didn't have one, so had to get creative. Went to Salvation Army and got some sports coats, etc. And now I have dress clothes, thankfully. But
That's so cool. I'm such a big fan of charity shops, but it's pretty cool. You got a suit or a jackets that are smart enough to wear to a conference.
yes, so
Yes.
it's funny. I wear the same sport coat pretty much everywhere I go now. I have two, and I don't really like the other one that I got. They're both from Salvation Army, so but no one notices really.
Well, why would they? Yeah, well, it's harder for a woman. They definitely notice, sadly, but it's kind of cool. And the last story about your new native adopted land. Did you dye your hair to match the national colors there or something?
I did, and I'm very impressed with your research. I think you've done the best preparation for my background coming onto a show. I've been on now, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 20 shows. You definitely did your research, so that's good. And I did I want to say it was mid to late May of this past year when I first moved here. And I didn't think I was going to be staying full time at this point, but I dyed my hair pink, white, and green, which is basically the flag here that most Newfoundlanders, most islanders identify with, because that is the only flag that they've had during their existence that really represented true unity and freedom within the country. Meaning, I think they were owned by the British at the time, but again, that just the way the culture was here, they didn't really feel like they were owned by a country. And then they also had two different religions. I might be getting this mixed up, but someone who told me this on the plane here when I was flying in one time. But basically, the reason why it was pink, white, and green is if you look at an Irish flag, it's green,
white, and orange.
and orange. Yeah. So imagine the orange just being pink.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you're now living where you're living, having a great time, really enjoying it, DJing on Sunday nights. That's really, really cool. So tell me and also you mentioned at the very start of the program, you are an international sort of nomad, citizen of the world. You don't really believe in one country, one nationality. So I can see why the story of Liberland would appeal to you. But how did you first hear about it?
I first found out about Liberland through following an individual on YouTube. His name is Jeff Berwick. He's not afraid to let the world know what he thinks or know his opinion. And so guys, where if you go on his page, he's either going to love or hate. Like there's no in between.
You either love him or hate him.
Yeah. Exactly. And I respect it so much because I look at my life and I go, wow, I don't know if I could do that too. Like get to a point where I just throw my opinion out there to the point where I don't like truly all the way through don't care what people think. I think it's like something that you have to practice as you just get older. So
yeah,
I really like his opinions on a lot of things. I would say not everything, but a lot of them. And he had Vit Jedlička on one of his shows called Anarchast.
Wow. And at that stage, had Vit found a Liberland, or was he just advocating, in general?
Liberland was probably 2 or 3 years old at the time. I think I first heard about it in 2017.
Okay.
Applied for citizenship, got on the email list, and didn't really start making any type of progress with the leaders of the country until about a year later when they came to Washington, D.C. for a visit. And I happened to be living there at the time. So I kind of stalked them and figured out where they're at. And then now next thing you know, you know how involved I am. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool how things come together.
That's funny because I've been following the story of Vit, and I'm not going to attempt to say his surname, but only mangle it. I've been following Liberland and the whole story and just sort of getting sort of on the periphery. Quite a few of my friends were involved, and I'm sort of thinking, oh, it's interesting. And then I bumped into him in New York at a conference, and I said, oh, I've got to meet this man. He's here. Isn't it funny how obviously it helps when you actually meet somebody, and then you go, oh, and he's a very impressive man. He's very dedicated, and he's fun. He's not. I like the way he thinks.
Yeah, definitely. The way he thinks certainly aligns closely with a lot of the ways that I think, and that's again probably why I gravitate so strongly towards the ideology behind Liberland. And he's he's someone else who's really has that boldness factor where he's going to stay determined on what he believes and what he stands for and continue moving forward.
Well, there's very few people that would claim a strip of land for a new republic. I mean, that's a very audacious and brave move. So you're interested, you met him. So where did the idea of doing the podcast come from? How did that happen?
Yeah. So one thing, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but I do have my own podcast as well called Dream Chasers. And through the body of work that I had created with Dream Chasers, I was able to turn around to the leaders of Liberland and say, well, first of all, hey, I mean, is anyone doing a podcast for the country? Mm. And I think they said that somebody had started one, but they didn't follow through with it type of thing. And I said, well, hey, I have my own show too. Would you mind? Can I host a show for Liberland? And they were like, sure, go for it. So I started doing the Liberland show in October 2018, and we're getting ready to release episode 42 here soon, along with many other bonus episodes. Go ahead and check us out on all of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Yeah, it is very impressive, the amount of people you've interviewed, and you've traveled a bit, you've gone to different shows. Who have been your sort of standout guests? So obviously Vit would have been obviously very important. Who else have you interviewed that's really sort of brought clarity to this?
We're still actually waiting. We have not done the official Vit Jedlička interview yet on the Liberland show.
Oh, you haven't done? Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
It's okay. No.
You've done Yana.
We have done Yana.
Yes.
And Vit has been on the show he was featured on another popular show that's out there. Michael Malice has a show that he was on.
I saw that, yes. Yeah.
And so we took the audio from that and put it onto our platform. So that's you're right. He's kind of been on the show, right? Mm. So my favorite guest so far, I have to say, well, I'm gonna throw you in there because your episode was definitely it was just a good episode, and it's one of the more recent ones too. So everyone listening, go check out Jill's episode on the Liberland show, episode 40.
Very auspicious number.
I think for me, and I actually ask this question on my show all the time when I have podcasters on, who is your favorite guest, Ben? And I know it's asking like, well, who's your favorite kid? So I think for whatever reason, what comes to mind for me, just off the top of the head, probably would be Roger Ver. Just because I remember when I interviewed Roger, well, first of all, talking about all these people that have a very strong opinion and don't care about what other people think, which is beautiful. Yeah. Roger's definitely one of those guys, and he's definitely someone who's paving the way to freedom for a lot of individuals in this world. And I just remember, after getting off the phone with him, thinking back to when I first started getting into cryptocurrency and just this whole world of true freedom as I define it. I really used to idolize the guy, and then I actually became someone who thought to myself for a little while, like, I don't know, this guy's kind of like weird. I don't know if I should trust him. And then once I got on the phone with him, I'm like, okay, he's good.
Yeah.
Like he's a good guy for sure. And after getting off the phone with him, I just remember reaching out to my friend. I was like, dude, I was just talking to Roger Ver for 45 minutes. It's like, what? Like, yeah, like the Bitcoin.com guy. It was one of those moments where it's like, wow, when in my life would I ever be able to build connections like this if I wasn't speaking?
Do you know something? That is something that I totally get, because I'm a journalist now, 20 years, whatever. And when I was writing, for example, my most high profile role was with doing was a business journalist with the Sunday Independent. And I got some good interviews. I interviewed, Conor McGregor's coach.
Okay.
And I get Conor McGregor. And I got some, important people. But because I was only a freelancer, I couldn't get the big guys because I wasn't important enough. And then when I moved into blockchain 2 years ago, all of a sudden I had access to these huge names. Now, there mightn't be huge names in the rest of the world, not yet anyway, but they're massive names. And that's very exciting, because where else can you actually get to interview people who are making a huge difference and who are total leaders? And you and I can reach out and interview them. It's such a fantastic space to be in.
Absolutely. Yeah. One quote that I use on my show, Dream Chasers, pretty frequently is podcasting is the modern day business card. Meaning, you can, if you have a podcast, then it's going to, imagine handing your business card out, but it being your podcast, you're going to be able to have conversations that you just normally would not be able to have if you didn't have the platform.
Yeah, that's another very good point. So my final question for you then is, aside from Veet, whom you will get, and not just the audio from the other podcast, who's in your sights? Who's going to be doesn't be the most important, but the most interesting guests you're trying to line up next?
Oh man, most interesting guest. I think I'm really looking forward to having Dr. Tariq Abbasi on the show. He's another. So the heavy hitters, I guess you could say, even within the country, still sometimes are a little bit of a challenge to find time to get them to come on the show. And so I've been playing phone tag with Tariq Abbasi for the past year, and we're going to get him on. But he's one of those guys. And then I think next in line is somebody who's already been on the show, but somebody that and someone who's going to have, once I finally wrangle him down, we're going to have a great interview. I just know it. And it's David Ament. Have you met him? I think he was at Floating Man.
Oh, yes. I beg your pardon. Yes. We traveled together a lot. We caught a taxi from the airport together. Yes. Very interesting man.
David Ament has, he's involved in, I don't know how many businesses he either operates or owns or works with, but he's a very talented entrepreneur. And one of his prized possessions is his resort in Costa Rica.
I want to go there.
Yes.
He sent me a text just after the Floating Man Festival and saying, your next visit. I'm going, yes. How am I going to get out there?
Right.
Send me the plane tickets now.
Exactly. So him and we're brainstorming on some ideas. If this is going to happen, I don't know, but I do sometimes like just throwing ideas out there into the universe to see if it comes true. So we would like to figure out a way to get me down there for 2, 3, 4, 5 days and just record a ton of content for the Liberland show. Wow. And then release it over a 3 to 4 month period. So if that's going to happen, I have no idea, but that's definitely one thing we're going to talk about here along with his interview, which should be around the corner as soon as I can steal some of his time.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Very interesting guy. We had a lot of fun in the Floating Man Fest, I have to say. Wow. Okay, so that is so cool. It's you're going to stay. You're not going to heading off. You're going to stay in Newfoundland.
Correct.
And you're not going to move. You've got enough. You can travel with your work and carry on doing the Liberland show until you get your own studio on the actual land itself.
Exactly. So, yeah, looking forward to. I've got plenty of work trips here coming up over the next 6 months, as well as I feel like every trip always has some business tied to it. I don't think I've ever taken a full pleasure trip. So,
oh wow,
lots of activity coming, including the Liberland anniversary in April, which I'm looking forward to.
April. Oh wow, okay, I must look forward to that. Brilliant. Listen, thank you so much for your time. Very interesting. I'm looking forward. I've only listened to 3 or 4 of your podcasts so far, and I must confess, but I must go back and listen to more of them, especially as I get to know the people too as well. It'd be nice to go back and say, I've met that person. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. And I know we're on the EOS Dublin podcast. We didn't mention EOS or Dublin.
We didn't.
we got away with it, I think. No one will notice.
Well, I'm a huge supporter of both EOS and Dublin. So.
Oh, brilliant. Well, of course, EOS is going to be the blockchain that will run the governance in Liberland as well. So pretty cool. So thank you so much for your time. It's brilliant. Thank you, Adam. And we will talk very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.